And this man right here is responsible for a lot of them. Andrew Schmitt is the executive director of the Greenville Convention and Visitors Bureau. He joins me live in the studio this morning. Andrew, how you doing?
Doing well. Thanks
Good
for
to
having
see
me.
you.
Appreciate it.
Been a while. Hadn't seen you in a while.
All over
We've
the
talked
place.
on the phone. We've been emailing. But the concept of creating a greater Greenville Sports Alliance has come up, and you're leading the charge on that. This has been talked about over the years. You know, Greenville's had such great sports participate, not only ECU, but, you know, we were the home of the Michael Jordan Celebrity Golf Classic. We had the U.S. Open water ski championships here out at Parker Overton's Lake. We've had the Eastern Regional High School Basketball Championships here. And we've lost a lot of that. And so the idea here is to try to, once again, turn Greenville into a sports mecca. And, of course, we've had the BMX thing with sad news this week with Dave Miro's death.
Sad.
But tell me what you're doing. What's this Greenville Sports Alliance all about?
Well, it's a very informal group at this point, Henry. But what we're trying to do is really just start to educate the public about the value of sports tourism. So we're getting some folks together, kind of talking about how to do that. Talking about the formation of a sports study, a formal study that will show, you know, the necessity really for a sports complex here in Greenville, Pike County, what kind of sports complex it might be, the ROI on something like that. The cost obviously is a big factor. But we're just really trying to get the conversation started on why sports tourism is so important. And you mentioned it before, you know, Greenville is such a hotbed for sports. I've lived in a lot of different places, and I've never been in a city that really loves its sports like Greenville. You've got the Pirates, you know, and people really get behind the Pirates. Baseball, this is a baseball crazy
I
town.
didn't mention that.
It's amazing.
Best Little League program probably in the country.
You look at Elm Street Park. I grew up in the D.C. area. We did not play on fields like Elm Street Park. I mean, it's incredible. And you know, we love to talk to people when they come, especially the Tournament of State Champions, and just say, hey, what do you think? And they've never seen anything like that. So we've got a lot of good things going for us. We've got university with athletic facilities. We have the campus out at North Rec that does a lot of intramural and work with us on a regular basis. Our rec and park systems. Gary Fenton's a great proponent of a sports complex. He understands the benefits of bringing people in. And so we're really just trying to get that conversation started and say, hey, this is the value of sports tourism. This is why it's important. Let's look into really getting Greenville on the map with sports tourism, because other cities are doing it, and you know, people don't understand we compete against other cities. Whether it's for sports or for conventions or meetings or whatever, we're competing against other cities for that economic dollar.
Now, the idea of a sportsplex, a sports complex, came up when the city council appointed the bond committee, and there was discussion about what kind of things should go into the bond that was voted on last November. That's the first time that I heard the idea of a sports complex floated. It didn't make the bond, but it started the conversation about that. So let's say that that Greenville embraces this idea. What would this sports complex look like? What would be involved with it?
There's a lot of different people that think it should be a lot of different things. In the last, probably in the last 3 weeks, I've heard from, and they're all right. I've heard from volleyball parents, and there's a lot of parents that I know that their kids play volleyball. It's a big sport, and they get in the car every weekend, and they have to drive to Raleigh or Greensboro. They're tired of doing it. They'd like to have something here. I met with Joe Davis. Gray and I, our sports sales manager, met with Joe last week, and he's really into basketball. I don't know if you know Joe or not, but he puts on clinics all over the country, and he's saying, hey, if I had 6 basketball courts, indoor courts here, this is what I could do. There's a large swimming community in Greenville and Pitt County, so I've had people come up and say, hey, we need an auditorium. If we could bring all these, and you've got baseball. We consistently turn away baseball tournaments here, especially the 13 and older, because we don't have the fields for it. We bought temporary fencing for softball for the small kids out of the CVB budget, just so we could put them at Boyd Lee Park, and it's paid off. We've got, I think, upwards of 10 plus tournaments coming just for softball with ASA this upcoming year. So there's a lot of things that people want. Flag football is getting big, lacrosse, soccer, but I think that's where the study would come in, to say it would help us really kind of pinpoint what kind of facility we needed, because there's a lot of needs here, and I think whatever we build, it would benefit the area.
You've got a working group that's kind of been started of folks that are working on this, and I appreciate you inviting me to your first meeting. I was out of town and couldn't make it, but I want to be a part of this for sure. So what can people do? What should people do? And what are you asking the public right now to do with regard to the ideas that you're kicking out here about a sports alliance, a Greenville Sports Alliance?
I think the important part right now is just to listen. One of the main things that we want to do is educate the community on sports tourism, because if it goes to a bond, I mean, obviously it's not going to be this November. We need to do our due diligence, and maybe next November it goes to a bond. It's something that the public's got to vote on. So listen to our message and kind of understand why sports tourism is helpful. Everybody that lives in Greenville and Pitt County benefits from what the Convention and Visitors Bureau does. We're not supported by taxpayer money. Local taxpayers don't put a cent into what we do. We're funded by the hotel motel tax. When we're successful, it benefits the taxpayers. Last year's stats show that local taxpayers saved $88.75 off their taxes because of tourism money that came into the community. If we had a sports complex, we could really build up our tax base through tourism money, and people are going to be paying less taxes. Our community is going to be healthier. Our economy is going to be healthier. Our businesses are going to be stronger. More people can get hired. So it benefits the community for us to be successful. And of all the things we do, we've got a convention center now. We just finished an expansion. It's been very well received in our meeting and convention community throughout the state. We have more things that are coming. That's a benefit to the community. Now let's look at another piece of the puzzle, which I think is sports tourism.
Listening to you talk, I can't help but think back to when the convention center was built, and we had people in this community. We had county commissioners in this community that said, that thing's going to lose money. It is going to be, it's going to be an embarrassment for us. It's not going to make it. Greenville can't handle a facility like that. And here's my suggestion: go over there and try to book a weekend. It stays booked every weekend. Now, it ended up being, I think, one of the most successful public-private partnerships that I've ever seen. Tom Glennon and the folks,
absolutely,
the folks from the hotel, Tom's hotel company, John Van Kooteren, that crowd. They have done a heck of a job in partnering with the city in a joint public-private partnership. And so I guess my message there is for naysayers who look at this and say, this is crazy. We don't need this. This is not going to work. And I've heard that since it came up through the potential bond. I would say take a look at the Greenville Convention Center.
Absolutely.
Look at, and better than anybody, what has that convention center meant for our economy?
Well, I'll tell you what, here's the lowdown stats as far as when you bring people into our community. These are the stats that we have. Someone comes in for the day. All right, they come in from outside of Pitt County for the day. They spend about $68 while they're here. It doesn't sound like a lot, Henry, but you start multiplying that by 1,000, by 1,500 people. We had a lacrosse tournament last spring that brought in over the whole weekend almost 5,000 people. They were day trippers. They went back and forth, didn't stay in the hotels, but it still brings in economic impact. The other thing is when you bring those overnight travelers, that number balloons to $160, and of course that's your hotel stay that adds up. So the convention center, take the United Methodist Conference. That's our largest conference that we have. They're booked with us for the next 5 years in the convention center. That's almost $1 million into the local economy over a 4-day period. And there's macro impacts too. There's people that are being exposed to your community for the first time. You never know who is in that crowd that's coming into Greenville or Pitt County for that meeting or tournament. Maybe they're looking to locate a business. Maybe they've got another event.
Andrew Schmitt from the Greenville Convention and Visitors Bureau, and the concept of the creation of the Greater Greenville Sports Alliance is on. Andrew, thanks for all your work, man.
Good to see you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Look forward to having you.
This is exciting, and I wish you all the luck, and I hope everybody in the community will get behind this idea. I think it's a great idea.